Peace, heroes, and welcome back to the channel. First, I want to thank all of you for liking and watching my last video. Now, if you like that video, then I think you're going to be in for a treat today. So we're going to dive right into it. But before we do that, only thing I ask in return is if you do like these videos, then please feel free to hit the like button. And if you like it just a little bit more than that, then also subscribe to the channel. That way you'll be notified every time I upload new videos, because with you liking and subscribing to the channel, that gives me more inspiration to make this type of content. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. Imagine a world where the ring no longer echoes with the roar of the crowd, but with the growls of the undead. What if Gervonta Davis, the explosive, undefeated boxing phenom, found himself dropped into the brutal, unforgiving world of the walking dead? Could his speed, power, and street instincts keep him alive? Could a fighter trained to defeat men adapt to a world where the real enemy is death itself? Let's step into the brutal alternate reality and explore just what would happen if Gervonta Davis was in the Walking Dead universe. Before the outbreak, Gervonta Davis was on top of the boxing world. He was undefeated, feared, and respected powerhouse in the lightweight division, with lightning-fast reflexes and knockout power in both hands. He had just won another title fight in Las Vegas, when whispers of strange infections started trending online. Gervonta ignored them. Like most people, the world had seen panic before. This would pass. It always did. Flights still took off, people still went to work, and fear hadn't yet placed the daily routine. But things got entirely worse. In just days, social order collapsed, fights broke out in grocery stores, and chaos was everywhere. Desperate to reunite with his loved ones, Tank flew back to Baltimore with Coach Kenny and Coach Calvin, hoping to bring his family to safety, but the city they returned to was unrecognizable. Sirens echoed non-stop, the air smelled like smoke and rot, and panic turned every corner into a war zone. Within hours of landing, the streets were flooded with the dead, so they barricaded themselves inside Coach Calvin's old gym, surrounded by Tank's mother, siblings, and his few close friends. It didn't take long for the walkers to find them. The barricades couldn't hold. Coach Kenny fought them off with a broken broom handle, and Calvin emptied the pistol, trying to buy some time. Tank swung with his fists, but they just kept coming. His mother screamed his name as the undead tore through the gym like a wave of death. One by one, the people who raised him, who believed in him, were ripped away in a blur of blood and terror. The last thing he saw before escaping through a busted window was Coach Calvin being dragged down, still throwing punches, even as the walkers overwhelmed him. Tank didn't look back. He ran for miles until his legs gave out, his hands still trembling from the loss. He hijacked a car, burned every back road he could find, and pointed himself south towards Atlanta, where rumors of military zones and safety offer a sliver of hope. At first, Tank relied on what he knew best, his fists. He was fast, lethal, and terrifying up close. Walkers went down with crushed paws from his vicious blows. But he quickly realized fists alone weren't enough. There were too many of them, and even the toughest guy could only fight so long before fatigue or a bite caught up with him. He broke into a sporting goods store and grabbed a crowbar, later trading up for a machete. Though he never used weapons outside the ring, his instincts adapted fast. His agility and explosive footwork allowed him to duck walker grabs and move like a ghost through the city. Survivors began calling him the Shadow, someone who moved quietly but struck like thunder. However, strength brought new challenges. Gervonta had never been a team player outside of his corner in boxing. Trusting people was hard. The apocalypse only made it harder. He was used to keeping his circle small, and now anyone could turn at any moment, from friend to foe, or even worse. But one night, he found a group of survivors trying to defend an old apartment complex from a herd of walkers. They were under-equipped and panicking. Tank could have kept walking, but something made him stay. Maybe it was the kid crying for his mom. Maybe it was the helplessness in their eyes. The same look his little cousin had the last time he saw him. He fought off over 20 walkers that night, using a fire axe, his bare fist, and a pure rage. Afterwards, the group offered him a spot, calling him their guardian angel. Gervonta stayed for a while. He taught them how to move, how to keep silent, and how to strike hard and fast. He just wasn't a fighter now. He was becoming a leader. But weakness crept in. Not physical, but emotional. Gervonta struggled with the guilt of survival when so many hadn't. He missed his family, his team, his normal life.
The fame, the lights, even the haters, all gone. Some nights, he shadowboxed in the moonlight, pretending the world was still whole, but it wasn't. 2 years into the zombie outbreak, his group was wiped out in a brutal raid by hostile survivors. Gervonta barely escaped. Wounded and alone, he wandered through Georgia, hardened, quieter, and more ruthless. He didn't trust anyone now. Humanity was becoming more dangerous than the walkers. Then he stumbled upon a firefight outside of a prison wall, a skirmish between walkers and a strange group of survivors, led by a man with a revolver and a steel glare. Gervonta joined the fight without saying a word, taking out 3 walkers with a rock and saving the gunman from a deadly bite. That man was Rick Grimes, and he didn't miss a thing. After the battle, Rick asked Gervonta one question: "You alone?" Tank simply nodded. Rick didn't push. Though he was hesitant through his experience, he saw something in the fighter: pain, power, purpose. So he welcomed him in, no questions asked. But Tank adjusting to this new group wasn't easy. Rick's group was tight-knit, wary of outsiders. Daryl didn't trust him. Lynn was curious. Michonne watched him closely. But Carl, he thought he was the coolest guy ever. But time and action won them over. Gervonta proved himself in every raid, every Walker breach, every food run. Joining Rick's group was an adjustment. Gervonta wasn't used to rules outside of the ring. Rick's leadership, while fair, demanded trust, something Tank had lost. Still, he earned their respect quickly. During the Walker attack at night, Gervonta saved Carl by snapping a Walker's neck and crushing another's head with a cinder block. That was the moment Rick knew this man was an asset. While Daryl remained worried, Michonne began to connect with him. They sparred occasionally with sticks or practiced movement drills. She admired his silent efficiency and explosive power. In her, Gervonta saw a fellow warrior, someone who had lost everything but kept fighting. Over time, their friendship grew, and their bond was unspoken but deep. As time went on, Gervonta took on quite a leadership role. During the scavenging missions, he was strategic, quick, and cautious. He taught the group how to move like a unit, how to read movement patterns, and how to stay calm in tight spaces. Carl, he continued to idolize him. Tank started teaching him basic boxing footwork and strikes. Using your size, he'd say small means fast. Fast means you'll stay breathing. But Tank's weaknesses still lingered. He was a lone wolf at heart. During moments of stress, he'd disappear for hours, wandering alone in the woods. He didn't like sleeping too close to the group. He still hadn't shared anything about his past. No one in the group even knew he was a world champion fighter. No one, except for Rick Grimes, that is. Rick had always been observant. It's what kept him alive as a cop and a leader. From the first time he saw Gervonta Davis fight off a herd with nothing but a rock and his bare hands, Rick knew there was more to this man than just raw survival instinct. The way Tank moved, balanced, precise, explosive, wasn't something you just pick up on the street. One night, while keeping watch, Rick broke the silence. "You were a fighter before all this, right? A real one. Champion level, maybe?" Gervonta didn't say a word at first, just stared out into the dark. Finally, with a quiet nod, he said, "Doesn't mean much now." Rick gave him a small grin and replied, "Maybe not out there, but it still means something to the people in here." From that moment on, the truth never left Rick's lips again. He never told the others, never brought it up unless they were alone. For Rick, it wasn't about respect or clout. It was about honoring who Gervonta used to be and who he had become. "Your secret's safe with me," Rick said before standing up to resume his patrol. Gervonta didn't say thank you, but he didn't have to. The look they exchanged was enough. In a world where history died with the internet and fame vanished with the fall of society, Rick chose to carry that piece of Gervonta's legacy quietly, not to glorify the past, but to remember that even legends bleed, heal, and evolve. During the prison arc, Tank was critical in securing the perimeter. He helped reinforce weak spots in the fences and trained others hand-to-hand techniques in case walkers got too close. But he also clashed with Tyrese, a powerful man in his own right, over decisions during the supply run. Their fight nearly turned lethal until Rick broke it up. The tension between the two was never fully resolved. When the governor attacked the prison, Gervonta was on the front lines. He fought with savage precision, taking down attackers with homemade weapons on his fists. He killed to protect, not out of rage, but duty. He pulled Glenn from a collapsed wall and carried Judith to safety. His hands built for belts now only held blood and broken bones. After the prison fell, Gervonta wandered again, this time with Sasha and Bob. The three formed a strong survival triangle. Sasha's precision, Bob optimism, and Tank unshakable calm. But Bob's death hit Tank hard. He didn't cry, he never did. But he buried Bob himself, refusing any help that night. He sat silently beside the grave for hours, with his knuckles bloody from punching the tree. When the group reunited on the road to Terminus, Tank was thinner, quieter, but sharper than ever. His senses was honed, every movement was calculated. He immediately saw the lies in Terminus' smiling faces. He whispered to Rick, "They're too happy. Something's wrong." He was right. During the Terminus escape, Tank broke a man's jaw with a single blow and helped lead a counter assault. He moved through the chaos like a hurricane, focused, cold, and brutal. He didn't revel in violence, but it was the only language the world understood now, and he spoke it fluently. Alexandria was the first real test of civilization. Gervonta didn't trust the walls. He didn't trust the people. He hated how soft they were, but over time, he helped train the guards to security. His gym was reborn in a small garage. Kids called him Coach Tank. For the first time, he felt like he could build something again. Then along came Negan. Tank took the deaths of Abraham and Glenn personally. He hadn't been there, but he blamed himself. He stopped speaking for 3 days. When he returned, he told Rick, "We fight or we rot." Tank became part of the rebel network, coordinating with Jesus and Maggie to sabotage outposts. He used guerrilla tactics, traps, diversions, and brutal hand-to-hand ambushes, so much so that his legend began to grow. Saviors whispered about the man who didn't use guns, only his fists. After Negan's fall, Gervonta didn't celebrate. He helped bury the dead, clean the fields, and train the next generation of fighters. He didn't want credit, he wanted peace, but he knew peace never lasted. When the Whisperers arrived, Tank immediately sensed their danger. "They're not like Negan," he told Aaron. "They're worse. They don't want power. They want us gone." He led stealth teams into enemy territory, learning their patterns, their weaknesses. He even brought back 2 Whisperer masks, silent trophies of his silent war. And during the Pike Massacre, Tank recognized Henry's body. He had trained the boy once, and that night he wept quietly, for the first time since he lost his family back in Baltimore. He promised Carol, "We'll finish this," and he meant it. In the final battle, Tank fought like a man possessed. He moved through the hordes and Whisperers alike, his machete and his fist working in terrifying rhythm. He took a knife to the ribs but kept going. He saved Lydia and dragged Daryl out of the rumble. He collapsed only when the fighting was over. But he survived, barely. His recovery was slow, but eventually he rose again. Tank wasn't just a fighter anymore. He was a legend among the survivors. Even Negan once said, "Guys like a silent Tank, guess the name fits." Years later, as the communities rebuilt, Tank opened a school for fighters, a place where kids learned not just how to fight, but why. He taught them balance, restraint, strength, and purpose, and always fast means alive. When Rick was presumed dead, Gervonta was crushed. He blamed himself for not being there. He wandered for a year, taking out threats across the wasteland, leaving only broken weapons and crushed skulls behind, a silent ghost of vengeance. Eventually, Judith found him and brought him back home. "We need you," she said. That was all it took. He returned, older, slower, but wiser. He became Alexandria's protector, teaching not through words, but presence. Even in peace, the world remained dangerous. Tank knew that, but he also knew something else. He was no longer just surviving, he was living. In a world built from ashes, the fighter had found his fight and his family.
And that's a wrap. So, what do you think? Do you think that Gervonta Davis actually have what it takes to survive in the world of Walking Dead? Or do you think he'll succumb to the sheer number of the undead, just like so many others? Drop your comments down below and let me know what you think. I enjoy making these fictional what-if videos, and if you enjoy them too, please make sure you hit the like and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned, because my next video is going to blow your socks off. Until the next one, peace out, heroes.